It's time to get outdoors on WHTL. Are you ready? From the deepest woods to the open waters, from the rocky trails to the snowy tracks, if that happens outdoors, we're talking about it. From fishing to hiking to hunting to trail riding, we cover it all. Brought to you by Petrick Service Station, Holden Sporting Goods, Black River Express, Low Hardware, the Levis Drum Rail Riders, the Elk Ride and Gun Club, Trempealeau County Economic Development and Tourism, and the Associated Conservation Clubs with Trempealeau County. So tighten up your boots, check your hook, fire up the engine. The adventure starts now.
It is Thursday. It means it's time to get outdoors here on WHTL's Coffee with Brian. I'm joined by a familiar face around here, Dave Carlson. How you doing, Dave?
I'm good. Happy May Day, Brian. And now we had the talking heads right before the show started, and here's your talking heads, Dave and Brian.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good one. Yeah, and you said it's May Day. Do kids still do the May Day basket thing? Do you know anything?
I don't have a clue.
That's what I was thinking this morning. I'm like, I remember as kids when, we lived in town. My mom would have us make these little baskets. You put some treats and stuff in, and you go to the elderly lady down the road. You knock on her door and run, and leave that basket there. But I haven't heard nothing about that.
Ding dong ditch.
Yeah. We used to do it without the baskets too.
I remember as a kid, and understand that I, grew up in the late '60s, early '70s. I remember hearing about May Day, and even at that point, I don't remember kids really doing much for May Day.
Yeah.
But I would hear that, like, May Day used to be a big thing, and that kids would, they'd go out to the maypole. So a pole, out there, and there were long ribbons attached to it, and somehow they'd, do a dance around the pole. I don't know.
Yep. I think that's a Norwegian thing.
Yeah, these are the stories that you remember, and, you tell them, and younger generation these days like, what?
Yep.
It's when you're getting older.
Yep. And you're just a little before my time. So
thank you, Brian.
so I'm glad I'm not the only one wondering, like, where do these traditions go? So,
right.
Yeah. So, well, it'll be a good weekend to get outdoors if you want to mow your lawn, it sounds like.
Well, and I've already done mine 3 or 4 times. Just, in the front yard. That's courtesy of a little fertilizer put down by our dog, Bella.
Oh, that does help.
If only I could get her to distribute it evenly, we would really be onto something. But no, it's been a great start to the spring season here. We've had a little bit of raindrops, but we've had plenty of opportunities for people to get out. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing great things about the fishing down on the Mississippi River. And, of course, people don't know, and I don't know if you're a fisherman how you wouldn't know this, unless you're a very casual fisherman, it's open season for anything, anytime on the Mississippi. So if you can get a boat in the water, you can go out there and you can fish for the walleye, and there's sturgeon in the river. I mean, there are so many species of fish, and there's so many opportunities to get out. There's a landing down at Trempealeau. There's the fishing float down at Trempealeau that is really popular with people like me who don't have a boat. They've been doing pretty well this spring.
Yep.
Business opportunity for somebody. I understand the Trempealeau fishing float is for sale.
Is it really?
So if you want to, run a boat and run people across the river from the Trempealeau side to the fishing float, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a boat. I assume the business probably comes with the boat. But I don't know if I want to be a Mississippi River boat captain and fishing float operator.
Yeah, just making that same trip all the time. It's nice to see more of the scenery.
Yeah. But, there's been people out, at Pearl Park doing the hiking, and people. I've seen people as I've traveled around the county here doing the baseball and softball games, out on their conventional bikes, the old school bikes, as well as the e-bikes.
Yep.
And e-bikes is something that, we're really taking a look at as I wind down in the job, but it'll be something going forward is, we know that we've got a great, nationally known system of trails, road trails that are marked and mapped out here in Trempealeau County. And we understand that a lot of people are now using e-bikes for that. So a a thing that's come up is what can we do to support some charging infrastructure
that's
for
a good idea.
e-bikes? So that's something that we're going to be taking a look at. I think there's a decent chance that one goes in out at Petrick Park sometime soon. There's a plan being done right now for this new natural play area that I think we've discussed at Petrick Park. And so that's something I know the grant application for some state funding help for that is due today. And Jack Hay, our Parks and Rec manager, is going to include that as part of the project. So it's, you got to keep evolving here. We've had conversations about, well, where would they go? And, the thing is, some of these areas are kind of rural. So it's, I think in one case, and I forget which church it is, we thought, well, yeah, we could put one out at this church because that's kind of a popular spot that people, stop to just rest and take in the view and stuff like that. So it's all coming. It's all evolving.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. I've other places they do these little stations with the solar panels on top too, so you can do the back feed into the grid if you need, or you can go without the grid if they got battery packs. Yep. So many ideas, and there's getting to be more of an increase of those e-bikes or the e-assist bikes. Like I know from some of my older neighbors, like one of them, they said I think they had their knee replaced or something. They said bike riding's good, non-compact sport, so they got the e-assist, and all of a sudden now they're riding 20 some miles a day every day, and these Velmobiles. Have you seen that new craze? So in Eau Claire, I got two friends, Paul Carey and Andrew Carrigo. They look like little missiles. You crawl right in it.
Oh, geez.
It's got an e-assist, but you sit down and they got some high-tech equipment in them.
Wow.
And they're starting to club that way too. So a lot of people out doing the biking and the electric assist biking.
Yeah, I will be the first to admit I have a really nice bike. I mean, at least it was it's a really nice Trek touring bike, and I've had it for probably 20 years now. And just the last few years I haven't ridden it that much, been busy and just haven't made the time to do so. But now that I'm winding down and going to be having some more time on my hands, that's something I'd like to do. But I'm really curious about the e-bikes because I've got some knee issues. Basically, I have no meniscus left in either knee.
Okay.
And I've been treating it with cortisone shots every 3 months and a better shot every 6 months. And that's been helping. But I know that that's something that people say, it's if you've got knee problems, biking is a good thing. It keeps stuff kind of stretched out and moving, which is good. But the e-bike is really kind of intriguing to me because it's not that I can't go out and bike 10 miles because I can. But maybe an e-bike helps you go out and do a 20-mile loop or a 25-mile loop. And, it's I don't want to say equal measures, but it's one part exercise and maybe 2 parts just being out in nature and seeing some of these things. Because some of these bike routes, on these county roads or places you wouldn't necessarily drive. But there's such wonderful views.
Yeah. Oh, and the thing with those e-bikes too, they're making these like I talk about my neighbor. They're a kit. You can get a battery-powered kit that you just add on to your existing bike.
Sure.
So if people want to start it, maybe get the kit first and then upgrade, because I think the bikes are around $2,000 or something or more, probably.
That sounds like a lot, but if it gets you out and gives you some mobility to do that kind of stuff, then I think that's probably money well spent.
Yep, exactly. And like you said, there's so many beautiful drives, that roads that people don't drive on a lot that you can get out there and bike on.
Yeah, there sure are. And, I don't know if we've talked a little bit about this over the months. We just are wrapping up our destination marketing research study that we did with Pilch and Barnett, a professional marketing firm out of Madison. And early on in the process, we did some surveying of Trempealeau County visitors. So people that don't live here, have come here from out of the area, and talked about what is it that's attractive to you, what brings you here, what brings you back. And scenic drives, like just driving in your car, is top of the list. I think it was number 1. It was for sure in the top 2 or top 3. And so, boy, talk about something that's so simple. We don't have to do a lot of work on that. we just need to tell people, where they can go, what routes to take to see the most scenic stuff. And we've already got those routes established. So that's something that I think we're going to be leaning heavily into going forward the next year or so as we sort of transition and ramp up our marketing efforts, because they will be ramped up. We'll be applying as the county. And I say we because I'm part of the county, even though I'm going to be gone.
Yeah,
the county will be continuing these efforts and probably making them better. But we'll be taking a look at applying for this grant again. And in year 2, we can get, I think, up to $39,000, which would enhance our marketing capacity a lot.
Yeah.
Get us into some areas that we're not right now, get us into some digital stuff additionally, and be able to just promote more of what's going on here, and maybe target some seasonal things or target some specific kinds of interest, like, whether it's, targeting the area for more RV camping or targeting it specifically for bicycling. We're working with the Trempealeau Trails Association, the bike group, Travis Mossman, and we are having a reprint done on their bike route guide that they can share with bicycling groups and events and stuff like that, to try to encourage people to come to Trempealeau County. So Travis is going to be down to an event in Iowa this summer, and he'll be passing out information, and I'm going to send him with some Trempealeau County visitors guides. And I think it's that kind of little stuff, just being persistent, figuring out what it is that attracts people to your area, and then leaning into it.
Yeah.
We're not going to say, hey, come to our area because we've got, huge music festivals 5 times a year. We've got one. We've got Ashley for the Arts. We have a lot of smaller music events, and that's good too. The Trempealeau County Music Series is going to be back again this year. A lot of the communities, chambers do music, but that's a nice thing. And it's the kind of thing, you're an Osseo guy. Garber Band Shell. Yep. That's such a wonderful facility for the community. And I'll betcha that when they do music at the band shell during the summer and fall, that you get people coming down from Eau Claire.
Oh, we do.
Bringing their picnic baskets and their wine and just, making it a family event. And it's that kind of fun stuff. It doesn't have to be a little bit. And I know sometimes when we talk to people in Trempealeau County, they're like, well, why would people want to come and visit here? And the response is kind of like, well, what do you like about living here? And it's some of the same stuff.
Yes.
It's a large amount of overlap.
Well, we drive these roads every day, and we forget about how beautiful it is here.
Yeah. And now I've been here full time for a little over 3 years, working for the county. It was 3 years in March, but we've had a house in Galesville for a little over 4 years now. So I've been spending a lot of time in Trempealeau County, obviously. But even after 3 years or 4 years, some of this stuff you just start kind of, taking for granted a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's you get out of the area and you travel to someplace new that you haven't been before, and you start seeing that area with different eyes, right? So I'm doing a little bit of work now with a community in Minnesota, Caledonia, Minnesota, right down in Houston County, tucked away in the far southeast corner of Minnesota, and it's kind of crazy because it reminds me a lot of Trempealeau County. With the bluffs and with the hills and the valleys and stuff, and and a lot of farming mixed in with woodland and whatever, and small towns. In that case it's Hoka and La Crescent and Caledonia, Houston, Spring Grove. And it's just really interesting driving around there. I took a drive last week out of Caledonia, headed down towards the Great River Road, and I ended up on Houston County Road 5, which is a gravel road. And I will tell you, that's the other thing, is we've got some darn good roads in Wisconsin and in Trempealeau County, because most of the town roads, even in Wisconsin, all the state highways, all the county highways, and probably 90% of the town roads in the state are paved.
Yes.
And in Minnesota, almost no town roads are paved.
Oh, really?
And maybe, I don't know what the percentage is, but not every county road is paved either.
Oh, wow.
So, it's just interesting to take a drive someplace like that and look through the eyes of a tourist and like, wow, this is really, I had to pull over at one point and get out and just look because it was such a picturesque setting, a trout stream running through and bluffs on, all four sides. I think it was the Winnebago Valley, but it's just that kind of thing that, we got to keep in mind is it might be boring or just, it's beautiful, but I've seen it 10,000 times, and realize that some people have never seen it. And just like like the view from the Arcadia Hill, looking out to the east there, and just how you see the rolling hills, and you see the bluffs, and you see farm fields below. I wish that we could get a observation point on the west side of Highway 93 up there, because there's some wonderful views looking down at Arcadia. And you can see all the buildings, and you can see the huge, roof of Ashley Furniture. But it's just there's so many things to attract people here. I'm not going anywhere. I love Trempealeau County.
Yeah, me too. I'm Jackson. We're kind of right on the line, so both those counties hold a special place in my heart.
Right.
And the beauty of it, like me and Butch went up to the tower yesterday, and it's just and he took me by the house and stuff. It's like, it's so up on D there. It's such a beautiful drive.
Right.
You're kind of in those bluffs and that valley there, and you really forget when you drive by it every day. It's just another hill in the distance, but when people come here, they're wow.
So. I don't know, just another interesting thing that we've got going on, excuse me, is for the last 3-4 months here, I've been working with a group of students at the University of Wisconsin-Madison on a project. It's through a program called the University CITY Alliance. And what they do is they'll work with local units of government, and they'll match student groups with a specific project that a municipality or a county or somebody might have, to advance something in their community. And so the project we've been working on with them this semester was to develop a plan sort of geared at identifying what kind of business opportunities there might be, or opportunities for new businesses in that outdoor recreation space in Trempealeau County. So the softball easy pickings one for them was, hey, I can tell you we need somebody that can transport kayaks and canoes and their paddlers back to where they started if they, say, get in Whitehall and paddle down to Independence or Crossroad or Petrie Park. So that's something easy. If there's somebody listening out there that wants to do that, it would be very much appreciated and welcome. And I think you'd make some bucks.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
And it's the kind of thing that if we have it, we can promote it, and you'll get even more business. But I said, so that's an easy one. I'm putting that one on your list first.
Business ideas.
But I went down to Madison last Thursday because they were doing their class presentation on what they had found. They're still working on their final report, which I expect to get any time now because the semester is winding down. They've got to get that in. So, but they talked to several area businesses, asked like, what do you think is missing? What could we see? And, there's part of the idea too is, we're working on developing a business grant program in Trempealeau County. It won't be implemented before I leave, but it will be announced, I'm sure, sometime in the coming months. And we're going to have the opportunity for startup businesses to apply for a grant, and existing businesses to apply for a grant to help them grow. And one of the target areas we're going to have is that outdoor recreation economy, as well as downtown, businesses in the central business district and stuff like that. And then starting, trying to help small manufacturing type businesses. And I think that's going to be an exciting program when it does get announced. And it's just that's something that can tie back. So what I was really asking these students to develop is sort of a recruitment strategy. What kind of businesses do we need? And So I think they're going to get part of the way there.
Okay.
Whoever comes next is going to need to pick that up and then say, okay, these are the kind of businesses that were identified, and how can we attach some names maybe of existing businesses, or how can we present this, whole kind of list of opportunities somehow to aspiring entrepreneurs or small business people to say, start a new business, and we will give you some seed money to get started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so buy some vans that can haul some kayaks. I'm telling you.
Right. Yeah, you need a side hustle. Everybody needs a side hustle these days, right?
Yeah, it's mostly summertime. So,
That's right.
Nice summer job. I think some of the teachers listening out there, it's a good business for them to start thinking about.
Right. Yeah. Well, and this whole tourism thing, I got to say it's interesting because now, having worked in tourism promotion for the county for a little over 3 years, I definitely have a different perspective on like how people travel and where they get information about travel. I'm taking a big trip this summer that's going to start with driving out to Great Falls, Montana for an economic development conference that I'm really excited about. It's rural focused, which is the kind of consulting work I'm going to continue doing going forward. But then from there, I am going to be taking the train, and I'll be gone for like a little over a month.
Wow.
I'm going to take the train to Portland, and then spend a night in Portland, take the train south to Dunsmuir, California, in the north part of California, spend a few days there, small town. I want to kind of find out what they're doing economic development and tourism-wise. From there, head down to Sacramento, switch trains, headed back to Chicago, stop in Green River, Utah for a couple of days, another small town. Just really curious about. Back in Chicago for a couple of days. I'll see my wife then for, because I'll have been gone 2 weeks.
Yep.
And then from there down to New Orleans. A few days in New Orleans. I'm going to see the Brewers AA team in Biloxi, Mississippi. Back west to L.A. with a couple of days stop in Alpine, Texas. I know, western part of Texas. Why would you go there? Because it's right along the train route, and it's another small town. L.A. for a few days, going to see the Brewers out there, and then back to Chicago with a overnight in Raton, New Mexico, like the fourth city on the 4-city small, city tour.
Wow.
And then back to Chicago. And I am like very excited. It's a big adventure. It reminds me a little bit of when I set out to run a marathon back in my 30s. And you don't just say, hey, I'm going to run a marathon, and then you go out and you register and want to run 2 weeks later, right? It's the same thing with this trip. I am not a detail-oriented person and whatever, but for a trip like this, you've got to be pretty organized.
Oh, yeah.
I think my wife is blown away because I actually put together an Excel spreadsheet and went through, and she saw that I spent probably 15 hours just looking at different time schedules and different hotel places. And then I finally decided, okay, now I'm going to start booking.
Yeah.
And then I got it all booked. And then I pivoted. I said, no, I'm going to change this. Because originally I was going to go from New Orleans up the East Coast to New York, and then come back across like New York, Ohio, and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, the East Coast is not exciting me this time. Maybe not another time.
Yep.
So that was why back to California a second time.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's two different routes that run from California to Chicago, and they both get rave reviews for the scenery. And I was having to choose, and then I'm like, no, I'm not going to choose. I'm just going to get back to California, and I'll take the California Zephyr the first time I come back to Chicago, and I'll take the Southwest Chief the second time.
Yeah, that is great. That sounds like a fun trip. So is this kind of like a retirement trip, or just?
It started out as something I just wanted to do for myself when I retired, but then this conference popped up on my radar screen, and I need it for to continue my certification, so I can keep working with, communities and stuff. And so then I started looking, and I added that, and then I thought, well, I don't want to be on a train overnight for 2 nights, sitting in a coach seat. So what are some places I could stop? And I leaned into that small city concept and looked at the map and did some research and decided that those would be good communities. So it's going to be a combination of pleasure trip and business trip.
Yep.
It'll probably be substantially tax deductible.
Those are the best kind.
Yeah, it didn't start that way, but it has ended up that way.
Yep.
So I'm really excited to do some fact finding, get out of this area and see what other communities are doing, and then maybe be able to share that information in multiple formats. I've already had a number of people say, "Hey, can you come talk to like our group and just give like a travel log type thing?" So I'll be taking lots of pictures, taking some notes so that, after that 30 days, my mind is not just, what did I do? I don't remember.
Yeah, when you jam so much in, that's how it gets to be.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you're going to have to come back and update us when you're done with that.
Oh, yeah, I would love to. I think it's everybody should have an adventure like that. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to do it right away, so that I didn't keep pushing it off.
Yeah.
And then we'll see. Yeah. If I like it, maybe I'll do a trip across Canada or something on a train. Fun. I've heard that the Canadian Railway, and just is so you go just like in the U.S., you go through a lot of desolate land, and you really get off the beaten path.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. Well, is there anything else you want to cover before we get going?
No, it's just been a pleasure sharing the first Thursday of the month on Getting Outdoors for the last 3 years here. You'll continue to hear from somebody from the county, I'm sure, in this spot going forward, whether it's Jack Hay or whoever comes along next in my role.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure having you here, and you're a staple to this community here, and we always like hearing from you. And if people want to get outdoors tonight, are you working the baseball game?
Absolutely, yeah. We are in Whitehall, Colonel Larson Park this afternoon.
Yeah.
Whitehall is hosting, who is it? Gilmanton. There we go. Nice little 121 series rivalry. And that's the other thing. Just to be clear, I'm retiring from the county in 3 weeks. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, we're keeping them here. We're not letting them leave.
Yep, right.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, Dave, thank you so much for joining me.
Bet.
And I can't wait to hear about your trip when it's all over.
Sounds good. Thanks, Brian.
Yep, thank you.
Get ready for an afternoon of great taste at the Falls Taste Fest. Saturday from 2 to 6, the Milt London Memorial Arena in Black River Falls. Enjoy the region's finest craft beers, wines, and food vendors all in one place.